Sawadee and welcome to another episode here on the Funky Pod on the MMA Monday. And this time around, it's going to be really short and sweet because I'm making some changes to the MMA Monday, as you know it. I tried it already over the past few weeks, but I realized I should make it more distinct. So starting this week already, but the next week fully without the announcement, the MMA Monday here for the Funky Pod will cover more of what's happening in the media, how are fighters using the media, what could they have done better. Maybe they can learn something here. I'll also use some media theories to explain what they should do better and how to do it better so that they might even learn something when watching or listening to this podcast. Why? Because, well, that's my wheelhouse, so working in the media. And I realized the fight reviews, recaps, and so on, and you don't need me for that. Thousands, a million podcasts out there that do that. Not necessarily better, but they have a bigger platform already. So I'm going to focus on what I'm good at, I think, which is explaining how the media works. And then eventually, of course, also how the fighters could utilize the media. So I will keep an eye on that and be more active in this regard moving forward. Now, just to try my hand on that this week, it's going to be really tough. Because let's be honest, the UFC fight card, Makhachev versus Bobby Green. While we all love Bobby Green, obviously, there's not much to talk about necessarily. How, for example, Islam Makhachev uses social media. And I think one of the problems that Makhachev faces is his media appearance. Not necessarily that he doesn't have a TikTok, or maybe he has, I don't know. But we don't know much about Islam Makhachev, right? We just know that DC is super high on him, that Khabib is super high on him, and they all want him to be the next champion. And every time someone gets picked to be the next big thing, the audience is already resentful towards that, right? So that's why, for example, I think lots of us were looking forward to seeing what Beneil Dariush would have done with or to Islam Makhachev. And now, of course, no one really believes that Bobby Green will pull off the upset on a week's or 1.5 weeks or so notice. So back to the point, Makhachev could use social media to create, or I don't know, he doesn't need to create a fake persona, but just to, I don't know, let us in to who is he, what drives him, things like this. But more on this then as we move forward with the MMA Monday here. Bobby Green at least does things while he's got airtime, right? After interviews, when he wins, even if he loses, but in interviews he doesn't hold back. He runs around with the middle fingers in the air and stuff, and that's part of his persona. And that's why people like him, I guess. So he could also do more, of course, but again, we will analyze those things as we move forward and starting next week. The rest of the card is, of course, even less to be talked about in this regard. Not that they weren't good fighters, but they just don't get the coverage, of course, right? I think the next biggest name is Misha Cirkunov on there, which MMA hardcores probably know, but the casual person might not know Misha Cirkunov. And that also comes back to, of course, how the UFC treats their talent and how the UFC promotes them and shows them in the media, social media, but also in traditional media, of course. And speaking of which, talent being showcased in the media and so on. One thing that was rather surprising, and I'm very happy that this also got talked about, was how little actually Israel Adesanya was in the media leading up to his latest fight. And he went on several podcasts, and while that's cool that he goes on podcasts that I listen to anyways, for example, Flagrant 2 with Andrew Schultz and The Brilliant Idiots with Schultz and Charlemagne the God, he repeated lots of his points very frequently there, right? So, but it's fair. Same questions, same answers. Okay, no problem. One of the things that they talked about, I think, with Andrew Schultz was that he didn't get much media coverage leading up to the fight, and he said, and this apparently was also now they're speculating, maybe because he didn't agree to a contract before, now that he signed a new contract, this might change, right? But the UFC could also, of course, do like a better job there, being less petty, but how to utilize, the talent that they have to showcase several angles, to reach a new audience, a bigger audience, a wider audience, especially now that the pay-per-view sales or like the costs for pay-per-views go up. Why wouldn't you want to utilize it more? But then if you negotiate with someone, you're like, hey, I'm not gonna shine a light on you, because then you say you're gonna want to have more money. It seems a little bit petty for a company that has all the money. But who am I? I'm not the business person. I'm like the media person. So we will also look into how this could have been done better, or how this could be done better moving forwards to reach different kinds of audiences, because there are different kinds of audiences that watch the UFC, that watch MMA, for example. And maybe we're just going to go into like an audience analysis next week. We're going to talk about who watches UFC broadcasts and who follows the stuff throughout the week, who watches then the podcasts and the YouTube shows, and I was about to say Mortal Kombat, Morning Kombat, and all those shows, the Helvani stuff. Who watches that, and like who doesn't, but who still tunes into the fights? This would be interesting. Maybe we will do this the next week. I think would be a cool start, actually. What else did I want to talk about this week? Oh, of course. The last thing I want to talk about this week, as I said, I'm going to start with like doing some research on all the topics I just mentioned, and then jump right into it next week. One championship is going to happen again on Friday. It's going to be live on Friday. It says live in 3 days, 23 hours within 4 days. Okay, while I'm looking at the One Championship website, and it's going to be headlined, and it's a bit disappointing. Not to take away from the accomplishments of the champion, the world champion, René de Ridder from Netherlands, who's like just running rampant in this middleweight division. He's also just so much bigger than everybody in the division. Like he assaulted Aung Lan Sang, the former champion, twice. Crazy. He's going to fight Kamrian Abbasov from Kyrgyzstan, who I don't know that much about, to be honest. René de Ridder is thought to be one of the few One Championship athletes that apparently lots of people out there regard as also UFC talent. That's a hard decision for me to make, because who am I to say that this or that person is UFC talent? But so far, his fights have always seemed rather easy for him. So let's see if Kamran Abbasov can give him some difficulties. Unfortunately, there are no facts like on the One Championship website, like size, for example. De Ridder always outsizes his opponents, or at least he did so far. So I wonder like how big Abbasov is, for example. But I guess we will see on Friday. Co-main event is light heavyweight kickboxing world championship between the champion Roman Kriklia from the Ukraine, interesting, and Murat Aygun from the Netherlands/Turkey. Kriklia, I wasn't a big fan before, but in his last fight, I actually kind of like turned the corner on him. I liked his style, the aggression. So this should be a fun fight. So tune in for that one. Even though it's just kickboxing. I mean, as someone who likes Muay Thai, just kickboxing. No offense. But yeah, speaking of Muay Thai, then the third fight on the card is Pat Morakot, Pat Yindi Academy, putting his championship belt on the line in featherweight Muay Thai against Jamal Yusupov from Russia. Russia and Ukraine on the same card. Just saying. Pat Morakot is like a no-nonsense fighter usually. Still, he's got some flashy moves. He's got some spitting stuff in his pocket. But usually in his fights, he strips it down to the basics and just does them really, 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 really well. He's not as famous as others, like Rotang, for example, who's also not the most technical, by the way. But he's just very good. So maybe Jamal Yusupov surprises all of us. But I don't see anyone taking the title away from Pat Morakot just yet, I think. He's still young enough. Then the surprise Aung Lan Sang is on the card. Like it's the fourth bout from the top. So the second bout of the main card. How the mighty have fallen from like being the champion for quite a while, always main eventing. Now Aung Lan Sang is the second card of the main, the second fight of the main card. He faces Vitaly Bigdash from Russia as well, who's also, of course, always like touted to be like close to the top, but then I don't want to say fail, because I mean they're all fantastic fighters, but never really made it to the top. So this should be interesting, because Ong Lan Sang was at the top, of course, but now he failed against Randy DeRitter twice. So then afterwards he came back with a knockout. So let's see how this goes. I'm interested. Vitaly Bigdash has power in his hands. So this should be interesting. This should be an interesting fight between Ong Lan Sang. Like, does he still have the fire? Last time when he came back after his losses with like the beard and everything. So let's see how he looks this time around. I also think that here, for example, and more on this also the next week, here One Championship could have like, and One Championship is quite good at running their own social media challenges too. It doesn't really fit with the overall topic theme, in my opinion. By the way, the background noise you're hearing the whole time are my cats killing their newest toy. Kids? Anyway, so they do a great job like posting lots of content. Problem is, they're very repetitive. They post like all the same Alain Nalani posts all the time, him doing splits and backflips and stuff, even though he hasn't won a fight in like a century. Still looks cool though, but it's very repetitive. And I think they could have, they show like knockouts and stuff in slow motion very often, like, and then how the person hits the canvas and like knees to the ground opponent, which is legal, yeah. But for a company that runs on like respect and blah, 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 like the martial arts, the Bushido code and stuff like this, that doesn't fit that you show those things, I think. Like, and glorify the violence in this case. Why not glorify the respect and all those stuff, which they also do. But they show lots of like those violent knockouts and stuff like this, which I understand, but it just I think doesn't fit the theme. But I should analyze this next time around. So Ong Lan Sang, they could have done a way better job at also utilizing him as the face of Myanmar, in brackets Burma, how they do it like on One Championship website. Yeah, so again, I'm gonna analyze this next week. But yeah, I hope Ong Lan's got this, because he's been the face of the division for so long, and it would just be nice to see him not like lose again. So yeah, I'm all for Ong Lan here. And it's the third fight of the main card, my bad. The second fight on the main card is representing my home country of Germany, Enrico the Hurricane Kehl versus Typhoon Özcan. This should be fun. Like, both like accomplished kickboxers, maybe a little bit past their prime. Don't kick my asses, guys. I know you're still awesome. I'm looking forward to this one. Enrico Kehl, of course, like ruthless aggression fighter, moving forward, throwing, spinning back fists until the back fist bleeds. I don't know what to say. Typhoon Özcan, the last time he fought was a little bit disappointing. But maybe there's now time to bounce back. So I'm looking forward, like two very accomplished kickboxers. This should be a fun fight, actually. So I'm looking forward to this one. The opener of the main card is Fabricio Andrade versus Jeremy Pacquiao from the Philippines. These are two like younger guys who both won their last fights emphatically, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me well. So this should be fun. Bantamweight, so this means they can go for days. Yeah, that should be fun. No clear favorite for me. Andrade, I think, with a knockout last time, if I'm not mistaken, like a punch, knockout via punches, I believe, if I had this right in my memory. And Pacquiao, if that's the right way to pronounce it, I forgot how he won, but I think he also won via stoppage last time, if I'm not mistaken. So this should also just be a fun fight, I guess. In the lead card, there's just one fight I actually want to highlight, because it fits the theme of how the mighty have fallen. Sebastian Kadestam is on the lead card. He's the 6th fight on the lead card. Former welterweight champion of the world in One Championship, and now he lost like, I don't know, 3 or 4 in a row, and now he's like on the lead card against Valmir da Silva from Brazil, who looks very young, who I don't know yet. So yes, it's really crazy to see like how Kadestam Like with like, I don't know, a few fight win losing streak skid. That's how you call it, right? And then he's down on the card. Let's see if he can like rekindle that fire. It would be interesting. Or if he's now just the former champion that stands in the way of the young up and comers. So that should be really interesting. Also something you could utilize in the media, by the way, to tell a story. Just saying. But again, more on this, on how to use media and how to tell stories next week when the official MMA Monday relaunches here on the Funk It Pod. Until then, maybe let me know what exactly do you want to know? What do you want to see? Do you want me to analyze something in particular? Shout out, I shall do so. Just don't ask me to critique websites while I'm also in digital marketing and stuff like this, while I study those things. All the websites suck. UFC One Championship, maybe still the best of those. Bellator is terrible. PFL is also not much better. Bare Knuckle is just the worst website ever. Guys, any of those corporations need a website? I'll get you one for free. I'll have my students do those for you as a class project or something. It's going to look better than what you all have because they are all terrible. Okay, having that now off my chest, that's it for this week. As always, thanks for joining. Stay tuned. Subscribe, like, share this thing, rate it. That would be nice. And don't forget to always keep your guard up. I see and talk to you next week. Saudi Cup.